Hello, 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 and welcome to Puberty and Mental Health Literacy. I am Christy Abel, and on behalf of Rethink Sex Education, it is my pleasure to present to you the following information. But first, I would like to recognize and appreciate that I'm an invited guest in the traditional territory of the Tsawwassen and Musqueam First Nations. I have the privilege to work, to learn, to play, and to live in this utterly gorgeous place, and I'm committed to being a steward of this land. I express gratitude to the Coast Salish community and all Homohoyan-speaking people, and offer my respect to all elders who have gone before us and First Nations people who are with us today. I encourage you to do the same wherever in the world you may be. Haichka. So here's our agenda for the next 30, 40 minutes or so. Okay, we're going to look at teen angst. Is it normal? The answer is yes. We'll talk about your pituitary gland, how to manage difficult emotions, what's the deal and difference between mental health, mental distress, mental problems, and mental illness. We'll dip briefly into puberty and being transgender, and then wrap it all up with mental health and stigma and how to overcome it. All right, so some of the content over the next 40 minutes or so may make you feel awkward, and that is totally fine, okay? The thing with sex education is that it is the one type of education that you really need before you need it, okay? So one thing to remember is that your caregiver, your parent, your guardian has approved you to watch this already. So that means that they would like to be an askable adult. So if you have any questions afterwards, please do follow up with them, or you can ask them if you can comment below, and I can always address those as well.
You and I are going to get to be good friends. Who am I? Well, most people call me Teen Angst, but you can come up with whatever pet name you want for me. Personally, I've always loved the name Bob. Where the heck did I come from? Let's just say it all has to do with a little thing called the pituitary gland. It's that pea-sized thing at the base of your brain that starts to flood your body with hormones when you begin puberty. I promise I'm not bad company. I'm just stir up a little trouble sometimes. It all has to do with your body making some adjustments and you growing up. These intense feelings of inner conflict are totally normal and are referred to as teen angst. Remember that time your mom made your favorite breakfast and for no reason at all, you freaked out and yelled at her? Yeah, that was me. Oh, or what about the time when your best friend Molly said she was going to the movies with Karen instead of you, and you spent the whole night crying like it was the end of the world? Sorry, me again. I couldn't help it. Oh, and that morning you missed the bus to school because you spent hours trying to figure out what you thought was a fashionable enough outfit? Ugh, that was the worst, right? You see, part of my job is to create all sorts of big reactions and overwhelming feelings that might seem a little hard to deal with. Oh, what an annoying friend, right? But I have a job to do. I won't be around forever. I'm just here to help you through this funny time of life when you're not a kid anymore. But you're not an adult either. But all those highs and lows you're having are really normal and a typical part of everyone's teenage years. Even celebrity rock stars and athletes had their own teenage sidekicks like me. I promise, a few years from now, you'll look back on all our adventures together and laugh. But remember, if I start to get a little too out of control and my friend depression butts in, it's important to talk to a trusted adult. Depression can make you feel pretty sad and isolated. It comes around and visits lots of people, so it's nothing to be ashamed of. And depression is totally manageable with help and medical attention. So, are you ready to go convince your little brother that it's your turn to decide what we watch on TV tonight? If I'm a little short-tempered, don't worry, it'll pass.
All right, so let's talk about the good old pituitary gland. So during puberty, you might feel confused or have strong emotions that are very unpredictable that you've never experienced before. So some of the things, now this isn't true for everybody, okay, but this is a very, very common. You might become more easily upset about little things that turn into big things. You might get more angry really fast, or be like totally happy 1 second and then like boom, 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 you're angry at your friends or family next. You might feel anxious or uncomfortable about how you're changing, your body is changing and how it looks. You also might question your sexual orientation and or your gender identity. And sometimes it can be really, really difficult to deal with all of these new emotions and feelings and things that are happening. It's really important for you to understand that other people are not usually, I mean, you are a teenager and power dynamics are a real thing in high school, okay? But most people are not deliberately trying to hurt your feelings or upset you on purpose. So it's really important that you internalize that and go, okay, it's not on purpose most of the time, right? It can really, really help to talk to a trusted adult to kind of like help lift the weight off of your shoulders, right? It can be a parent or not. It can be an older sibling or not. It can be a counselor at school or a private counselor. It can be a spiritual leader that you work with, or it can be a youth worker. There's typically lots of options in school. It could be a teacher, right? Or a coach, just somebody that you feel, an adult that you can trust, right? Adults have all gone through this, even though it may look like we've completely forgotten about it, okay? All right, so how can you help yourself? And you may be like, duh, on some of this, but it's really, really important that we cover the basics. Number one being get enough sleep. Okay, so when you are really overtired, it can lead to more sadness and irritability. It's very important that you do not have tech in your room and you're going to go, oh, this woman, I'm not going to listen to her anymore. But here is the thing. I have worked in high schools since 2010, and a lot of the issues that happen at night with tech. Okay. So, but a lot of them being like, you might be sleeping through the night, but everybody's got that friend that is up at 2 o'clock in the morning going, you up, you up, you up, you up. And if your phone is there and it's dinging and is booming, it will wake you up. You'll have trouble getting best, and then it'll interfere with your sleep and all that kind of stuff. Now, most teenagers don't have any trouble sleeping in. It's really important that you also get the sleep at night. Okay. You also want to always check in with your body. Are you hangry? Are you thirsty? Are you too hot? Are you too cold? Are you really tired? Okay. So focusing on sleep, check in with your body to see if that's what's causing some of this mood, right? Recognize that you're not alone, okay? Not every teenager, nobody is the same on their journey through life, and certainly not through puberty, right? We've all got our own body clocks, we've got all sorts of different things going on. So they won't necessarily be to the same degree, but most teenagers are going to experience very similar things, especially because everybody has that pituitary gland. Okay, everybody has got it. Also, if you find yourself in a tizzy of some sort, okay, catch your breath, count slowly to 10. Do something that lets you settle down for a few minutes, right? Those deep breathing exercises that hopefully you learned in elementary school, okay? Use them. Use the skills that you have for mindfulness and for calming down, especially when you're feeling angry and or irritable. Okay, so those breathing techniques like square breathing and box breathing, and I have a kid right now he just finished grade 2, and they did the rainbow breathing, and I think they did something called like bunny breathing. They do all these things. So don't forget about that stuff. Okay, those are lifelong skills of learning to just calm your nervous system down when it is activated. Okay, another thing is you can channel some of this energy into creating something. Okay, so one of the best ways to feel better about yourself is to help somebody else. So if you get involved in some sort of project that helps others, that's really good. A lot of people will journal, write songs, or make art. Pour your feelings into it. It's very what we call cathartic, which is when you do something else to make yourself feel better. So like crying for a lot of people is very cathartic, and next point, there's nothing wrong with it, okay? It doesn't matter what gender you are. Crying is a very important release in our bodies. It often makes people feel better. Everybody cries sometimes, okay? When I was doing my master's degree in counseling, I love it. My master's supervisor, we'll just call him Dr. David. He said that something that stuck with me forever and really made it clear why it's so okay to cry. He said that tears are like a physical representation of a bunch of pent up energy, right? And he goes, like a fart. And I was like, that's so true. Things build up and then there's got to be let out. All right. So there's a lot of our society has a whole bunch of gender expectations around crying. It's all garbage. Okay. So crying is fine. It's very good for you. Okay. And we often are very selective about where we do it, and that is fine, but don't feel like you have to hold it in. All right, exercise. Oh, the good old get sleep and exercise and eat well message. It keeps coming up because it's true, okay? Like, regular exercise produces more a hormone in our body called beta endorphin, okay? And it helps control stress and helps improve mood. So one of the best things you can do if you're feeling low is go out for a walk, go ride your bike, dance around your room. Dance is just such a wonderful, wonderful way to process emotion. So go for a walk, run, play your favorite sport, ride your bike. It doesn't matter. Go shoot some hoops. If you got a pool, jump, whatever, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Get some exercise, get your body moving, and it'll help move some of that energy around. Weight. Okay, I got to talk about this gift. Okay. This is my favorite gift of all time, and I use it in so many presentations. I talk about mental health with a lot of educators and adults. I do anyways, I teach a mental health literacy program and whatnot. And I don't think everybody's felt this way sometime, right? Feelings. Anyways, sometimes you just need to wait it out. All right. So you get into a bad mood because of the pituitary gland, right? For seemingly no reason at all. But just because it comes in, it comes out. So the Dalai Lama has this wonderful expression. It says, let your thoughts be like clouds. Let them drift in and let them drift out, right? So you don't have to stay stuck in your mood when you don't want to, right? So it's going to rush on, but then you're going to have this decision to make of like, is this serving me or not? And one of the ways that, and if it's still serving you, like even adults like to hatch a good like vengeance plan, like we don't follow through for the most part because that usually leads into jail. But like, like if I find something like someone does do me wrong, right? And it happens like every once in a while, and I will sit there and I will feel my feels. I will feel my anger. I will feel all the things. And then I'm like, nah, I don't really want to feel this way anymore. So I distract myself with music. Funny memes is a good way to go, right? Cat videos. The internet is for cats, right? Our cat has a YouTube channel, and my bet, well, no, I hope to get more views than she does, but people do love cats on the internet. So you can find something to distract yourself that is happy, that will shift your mood. All right. Also, it's very important to talk to people you trust, right? So friends, of course, but other trusted adults in your life. So when friends help, like your friends, you're about to enter or are already in a phase of your life where your peers, right, the people who are your age, are more influential than the adults in your life. So talking to your peers is important. They help you realize that you're not alone, but it's really also important to talk to your caregivers about what's going on. Okay, like I'm sure you've seen a parent, guardian, caregiver type person in a bad mood before. So when you talk about it and open that door, by the way, if your guardian has shown you this video, they want to be an askable adult for you. So you actually can share with them, right? So they will much more appreciate you saying what's going on rather than like stomping up the stairs and slamming door and saying, I hate you and I hate the world and all that kind of stuff, even though that's how it may feel at the time. Okay. Now at school, depending on where you are in the world. In BC, we have counselors, teachers, childcare workers, even administration. A lot of people are like, I'm not talking to the principal, but I have worked with principals that have been wonderful resources for young people. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears a bit and talk about mental health. Okay, we're going to talk about the difference between mental health, mental distress, mental problems, and mental illness. All right, so what is mental health? Basically, it's about having a healthy brain, right? So we have physical health when we have physical bodies, right? We have a healthy sexual health when everything is working well. And we also have those, well, sexual health is interesting because it is the most interrelational, which means it involves the most with other people in terms of our own health. But basically, it's all about the brain. Okay. So when we are having good mental health, our brains are able to successfully adapt to the many challenges and obstacles that will happen in our lives. Nobody goes through life with no problems, even though it may look that way on social media, or it may look that way with certain people at school or whatever. I tell you what, some of the most popular kids in schools are the ones that come and see me because they also struggle. Okay. So these challenges can feel positively, right? Or they can feel negative. And sometimes they kind of feel a little bit of both. You can feel like something is hard, but you also know it's good for you. Okay. So as we grow and develop, we're able to take on more and more challenges and become successful with dealing with them. This is called resilience building. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Okay. So the thing about mental health and strong, healthy mental health is that negative emotions are a part of it. Okay. It's really important that we feel our feels, that we experience the whole spectrum of emotions, right? We can't really, it's like a gauge of like how we feel. So things like crying, feeling sad, getting annoyed or angry, these are all normal and they're okay. But remember, you get to decide how long you stay there. So one of the most common things we hear with young people is, I'm so stressed, I'm so stressed, I'm so stressed. Well, stress is actually a signal to change. So when we start to reframe stress as not being bad, right, it's actually people's attitudes towards stress that are more dangerous than stress itself. Isn't that really interesting? There is this wonderful video called How to Make Stress Your Friend. I believe it's with Kelly McGonigal, and it is typically something that I would include in a mental health presentation, but it's 15 minutes long, so I'm not going to put it here. But it's really good at like reframing how to look at stress. So just because we feel stressed doesn't mean we don't have good mental health, but being able to identify it and then change the program in a way that solves the problem is fundamental. It is totally necessary to have good mental health. You know how if a parent, guardian, caregiver says, go clean up your room, and you take everything and you shove it under your bed or you pile it in the closet and everything like looks fine, but you know it's all in there. Okay. This is, you have to deal with it. Okay. We actually have to sort through and process. The only way out is through.
Have you ever wondered about the difference between the terms mental health, mental distress, or mental illness? The language out there can be confusing and sometimes even conflicting. When we use phrases such as mental health issue, mental wellness, or mental problem, no one really knows what we're talking about. Using the correct language not only helps us to intervene more effectively, but it also reduces stigma. We've got a tool to help everyone get on the same page when it comes to talking about mental health. We like to think of it in terms of a pyramid with these 4 different states. Everyone falls somewhere on the pyramid, with more people on the bottom and less at the top. In the bottom category, we have no distress or no problem. Everything's going fine, and we're generally enjoying ourselves. We may be spending time with friends, attending school, or even sleeping. One level up, we have mental distress. Mental distress refers to the everyday problems that we encounter. These are things that irritate us, things that we're worried about, or problems that come our way. For example, we might have an upcoming presentation to give, or we may have had conflict with a friend or had a flat tire. When this happens, our brain sends us a signal. It's called the stress response. Our stress response is the basis of resilience and adaptation. Once we successfully solve the problem, the stress response usually goes away because we've developed the skills we needed to adapt. We don't want to go out of our way and protect ourselves from these normal stressors of everyday life, because problem solving through these stressors is how we ultimately develop resiliency and the capacity to become successful adults. But oftentimes in life, we're faced with problems in our environment that are simply too big for us to quickly solve or deep breathe our way through. That's what we call a mental health problem, which is the third level up in the pyramid. Mental health problems are serious events such as a parent dying, having a divorce in your family, moving to a new country without sufficient resources. Mental health problems may keep us up at night. They may cause intense emotions and they may last for a long period of time. But remember, they're normal. These are difficult times when it's important to reach out to others for help. Mental health problems may require the support of friends, family, counseling, or just time. The top of the pyramid, reserved for the fewest number of people, is a mental disorder or mental illness. This includes diagnoses such as clinical depression, clinical anxiety, or bipolar disorder. A mental disorder is very different than a mental health problem. This is where we see something going on in the brain, a perturbation of usual brain functioning. This is where evidence-based medical and therapeutic treatment is needed by specially trained professionals. Remember, the pyramid is not a continuum. Mental distress does not necessarily lead to a mental health problem or to a mental illness. In fact, we can even be at each level of the pyramid at the same time. For instance, someone can have ADHD, mental disorder, be grieving the loss of a loved one, mental problem, have an upcoming exam that they're worried about, mental distress, and sometimes they can just forget all about it and feel fine. All of these levels or components of the pyramid are part of our overall mental health. We need to make sure that we don't define good mental health as never having a bad mood. Good mental health includes a wide variety of emotional states. There are times when we are frustrated, indifferent, happy, sad, lazy, joyous. These are all parts of life and normal fluctuations in our mood. If a person has a mental illness, it doesn't mean that they lose their mental health. So let's start using the correct language, because it really does matter. Depression is not the same as feeling sad, and ADHD is not the same as being hyperactive. When we speak from a common framework, we're reducing stigma and building the foundation for better mental health care for everyone. To learn more, check out teenmentalhealth.org.
Okay, and this actually comes from the mental health literacy program that I spoke about earlier. And I really just love this model. I feel like it's very easy to relate to. Okay, so let's talk about mental distress. And most people will experience some mental distress every day. Every day. So it's an inner signal that a person experiences when something in their environment is demanding that they adapt to a challenge. Okay, this is called the stress signal or stress response. Okay, so we've got SpongeBob over here. So when your teacher asks you for your homework, but you can't find it, or you forgot your lunch, or your parent couldn't find their keys and so you were late for school, right? These are all these little things that cause like a little bit of stress, and there's different components to it, right? We'll have feelings about it, we'll have thoughts about it, we may have some physical symptoms about it. You might feel a little sick to your stomach or a little shaky, right? And then we have some behaviors. Now, when we deal successfully with the stressor, though, this is solving the problem, that then the brain will learn the strategy that worked, and then it'll use it again next time, right? So maybe you will learn to put your homework in your bag the night before, right? Maybe your mom will learn to put her keys in the same spot. It's one of my things. I always put things back where they are. The rest of my family doesn't. So I always get to find, they always know where things are, but I don't. I get to go look for them. But it is family life and you pick your battles. So, all right. So once a person has successfully overcome the challenge, that distress, it just disappears, right? And you level back out. But the learning and the skills remain, and then you use them again. Oh, this happened last time, so I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it a different way, or I'm going to do it this way or that way, or I'm going to try something different. Okay, this is called adaptation or resilience building. Building resilience is one of the most important things that you can do to become a successful adult. Okay. Like I said, mental distress happens to most people every day. Now, it's very interesting because people are like, they're like, I don't ever want to make a mistake. No, There are no mistakes in life. There are only lessons. Whether you learn from it or not will determine whether you make the same mistake or you learn the same lesson. If you don't, wait, how does it go? If you don't learn the lesson, you'll keep repeating the same thing, right? So making choices that don't work out the way you want is part of learning how to make the choices that do. Okay, we have to know what we don't want in order to know what we do want. Now, teenagers' main coping mechanism for mental distress is avoidance. Okay, and this is the 100% worst thing that you can do, because then you are robbing yourself of those experiences that build that resilience. Okay. So if you avoid or ignore everyday mental distress, the negative impacts on your development of your skills, it'll make sure that you're going to stay living with your parents forever. Okay. It's like a muscle. Okay. Like if you want to, let's say you would like to build a big bicep. Okay. That you would start off with a lighter weight. And then as that muscle grows, you move to a heavier weight and a heavier one until you have achieved your bicep of your dreams, right? So, but this mental health is exactly the same way. We always need a little something to push against in order to get stronger. Okay. All right, now we're going to switch gears to mental health problems, which again, everybody in their life is going to encounter. Okay. They arrive when a person is faced with a much larger stressor. Okay. So death of a loved one, including pets. Okay. Move to a new country, leaving friends behind to move across the country, serious physical illness for yourself or for somebody that you care about, divorce, right? Separation. All of these things are significant things that happen in a person's life. And almost everybody is going to experience strong negative emotions like sadness, grief, anger, or demoralization, right? And they can also be accompanied by difficulties in other ways, right? Like thinking. There can be this nothing will ever be the same. Well, that may be true, but it doesn't mean that it won't be as good, okay? Or I don't know if I can go on this way. These are very normal things to be happening in like a thought process. On the physical front, there might be problems with sleep, loss of energy, maybe even new aches and pains that are kind of unexplained in the body. And then we have behavioral. So this is social withdrawal. So people sometimes they're like, I can't handle talking to anybody. So this is, again, it's fine. It's part of the process. Avoidance of usual activities. Sometimes this does include work or school. But often it starts with just like those things that you enjoy. And then sometimes outbursts. You can have these physical, seemingly uncontrolled, that come out of nowhere outbursts. And again, these are all typical. They're okay. Okay, so a person who's facing a mental health problem we could see some noticeable difficulties in everyday functioning, right? Both inside and outside of school for young people. And often we need additional support to help through the situation. So sometimes you might need extra time for academic activities or even time away from school or work to help to be with your family. So here's the thing, right? Our brains need this time to rest, but it's also really important that as soon as you can, you get back into a regular routine. Okay. And that will be determined by you. And your caregivers. Okay. That's not for me to say. I actually do a ton of work with grief. But that will be another video. Okay. So the support, okay, so sometimes we need to escalate a little bit, right? So it can come from a counselor at school or privately. It can come from a religious leader, a child and youth care worker, or another person who has the skills to effectively help you. If your grief is a family issue, then the adults that are in your home might not be able to support you, okay, because they're going through their own stuff as well. So it's good to outsource in this case. And the presence of a supportive, trusted adult. Now remember, trusted adult, your friends are there. But if you're a teenager, they're not well equipped to deal with a mental health problem. And it might actually lead to some transference, which means like it goes on to them instead of them being able to just listen and help you, right? So again, it's important. This is going to need some more. It's like a next level, okay? Like this is like a next level of support needed. And it can help young people deal. But medical treatment is not typically necessary, okay? Not typically, sometimes, okay? And again, that is going to be a decision between your family and your doctor, if that is the case. But it's an option, but it's not typically necessary here. Okay, and now we're going to the little top, number 4 on the triangle, okay, of the pyramid. So we've got mental disorder and mental illness. Now, people throw around the words, and I see it in popular media. I see it on YouTube. I see it in movies, in songs. People throw around mental disorder language incorrectly. And what that does is it actually increases the stigma, which we'll talk about at the end, so that it makes people like not want to get help. Okay. So if someone actually really is depressed or has an anxiety disorder, it must be diagnosed by trained health professionals, not a survey on Google. Okay. This is not the way. You do not get to diagnose yourself, okay, with a mental illness or disorder. It has to happen through trained health professionals like doctors, mental health clinicians, psychiatric nurses, and psychologists. Okay. This is the only way. So you may suspect, okay, and I'm like permission to explore, but do not diagnose yourself with a tool from the internet. Okay. It's not, those are not valid. Okay. Now, but if you do need help, you need referral to these people. It's very, very good. Okay. Very, very good. Really helpful. Okay. So there's 2 factors that influence the development of mental disorders, and you can have one and not the other and not develop a mental disorder. But when you have both of these together, typically that will be the case. Okay. So there is genetics. Okay. So just like, diabetes is genetic, ADHD is genetic. Okay. So these are 2 things that can be very easily, can be managed with medication throughout the lifetime. And although a lot of people do choose not to take ADHD medication, and again, I'm neither for nor against, but it is one of those things where you find out if it's working right away or not. So I do know a lot of people, actually, there's a lot of people my age who are now being diagnosed with ADHD, and medication is changing their lives. But again, I'm not a proponent neither for nor against. So we have our genetics. So these are the genes that are passed down through the family and on brain development and brain function. So if there are other people in your family who have been diagnosed with mental disorders or mental illnesses, there is a chance that you may also be diagnosed that way. Okay. Then we have our environment. The environment is things that happen outside the brain, such as you can have actually an infection in your brain, and that might cause a mental illness. Malnutrition, which means you're not getting enough vitamins and minerals. And here is the thing, is in North America in particular, the diet you can actually be malnutritioned and not look at, okay, because it's all about having the right vitamins and minerals in your body to make sure your brain is functioning properly. Sometimes people will have a severe trauma, like a concussion or to the brain, and it can actually cause mental illness, and sometimes modeling. So as long as you have the genetics, let's say if you live in a home where one of the caregivers is extremely anxious and feels fear about irrationally about many, many things, and you're watching that, you may adapt the traits of that. Okay. So this is where modeling comes in. So if you have the genetic disposition to, let's say, to develop an anxiety disorder, but it's not modeled in your home, you may never actually develop it. So it's very interesting. So these 2 things together are very, very important. Okay. Now, in terms of treatment, people with mental disorders are best helped by trained health professional with evidence-based treatments. Mental health has come a long way in the last 20 years. And it's really, really important that counseling is a piece of it. There's this wonderful, wonderful thing our brains can do, and it's called neuroplasticity. And that's the abilities of the brain to change itself. So this is why therapy works. It's why counseling works. It's why talking to your friends works. Maybe not for this part because we need, but you know what I mean? It's really neurons that wire together. I shouldn't probably get into this too much, but they fire together and then they wire together. And so you can actually change your brain. It's fascinating. And it's my favorite thing about counseling, actually. Okay. But overall, when a person has a mental disorder, their brain is not working as it should be. Just like a person with diabetes, their insulin levels are not where they should be. Okay. So we have treatments to help with that. Okay, so a lot of people say, like, you can say things like, I'm feeling anxious right now, right? Like, that's fine. Anxious is a feeling, it's an emotion. But if you say like, oh my God, like I have such social anxiety, when really you're just a little bit shy about meeting new people, this is different. Okay. This is different. People with social anxiety often don't leave their houses, right? So it's very important that you understand that the language that we use really, really matters. Okay. A person with a mental disorder will experience significant, substantial, and persistent, which means almost all the time. Okay. Challenges with feelings of, depending on the disorder. And of course, people can have more than once at one time: depression, panic attacks, or overwhelming anxiety. Okay. Thinking. So sometimes there'll be delusions or disordered thoughts, like with obsessive compulsive disorder, feelings of hopelessness and suicidal thoughts, like with bipolar disorder and or depression, right? In the body, fatigue, right? Like just feeling so like I don't have any energy, or sometimes excessive movement, like people are really like move a lot, right? And then behavior. So one of the first signals of mental disorder is poor self-care. Okay, it's when hygiene goes right? Because as human beings, we typically do like to be hygienic. Actually, in the last couple of years, has become really, really important. More hand washing probably happened between 2020 and now than ever in our lives, right? Okay, and then withdrawal. There are actually 3 levels of withdrawal. The first one being a person stops doing like the things that they like, whether that's like playing the piano or playing soccer or hanging out with friends or watching movies or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And then a second level would be to stop going to work, stop going to school. And then that third level is stop leaving your house. And it's really interesting because you can get basically anything delivered these days, right? Like companies are making a fortune on it, again, mostly because of COVID. But and then people just get used to it, right? So it's interesting. So what we want to do is, if you start noticing that you're starting to withdraw from the things that you particularly enjoy yourself, this is a signal that you need help. Okay. All right. And of course, and a young person with a mental disorder requires a degree of care above and beyond what's provided for a mental health problem. Okay.
Hi, it's me again. Sorry I haven't published anything for the last week. I was, well, busy eating my ice cream. During puberty, sometimes feeling sad, irritable, hopeless, or even worthless, or having difficulty concentrating is normal. Usually, these feelings will come and go. But if you notice that these feelings continue for longer than a week or two, you may be depressed. Sometimes when a person is depressed, they think about hurting themselves or even committing suicide. If you ever have any of these feelings or thoughts, it's important to know that people care about you. Talk to a parent or other trusted adult about how you're feeling. They can find you the help you need to feel better. Similarly, many things can make a person feel nervous or worried, like a fight with a friend, going into a new situation, or taking a test. This type of worry is normal. But if you're having a hard time focusing on anything but your worry, you may have an anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorders are conditions that cause people to feel an excessive amount of anxiety, fear, nervousness, or constant worry, and can make a person feel overwhelmed by every little thing. This can affect the person's outlook, sleep, appetite, concentration, and confidence. People with anxiety disorders might avoid talking about their worries, thinking that others might not understand. But anxiety disorders are fairly common, so there is nothing to feel embarrassed or ashamed about. Talk to a parent or other trusted adult. They can help you get the care you need to feel like yourself again.
Oh. Oh no, I didn't want to do that.
Hey,
You don't need to
it's
see all
me
my
again.
things. Ah!
Sorry I haven't published anything for the last week. I was
We need to go back to this. Where's my slideshow? I don't know what happened. Hey, mental distress. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I did that on purpose. But that was totally, I just experienced some mental distress. So there we go. And now I can move forward. It's good. Okay, let's talk about anxiety. All right, I don't even care that the top there, it's all good. It's fine. Okay, so anxiety is super important in our survival. Okay, it's our fight, flight, or freeze response. Okay, it's an alarm system that's activated when we perceive like a threat or danger. Now, it's really effective when there actually is a threat or danger, but a person with an anxiety disorder feels like it's a threat even when there is no threat. Okay, so when the body and mind react to danger or threat, a person feels these physical sensations. Okay, we got a faster heartbeat and breathing, tense muscles, sweaty palms, sometimes queasy stomach, and or like trembling hands or legs. Okay, and these are all part of the thing that's supposed to get us to run away from the saber-toothed tiger. Okay, so this response has been around. Actually, all animals have it. Okay, it's part of what keeps us alive in the wild. However, we don't really like mostly live in the wild anymore, right? Especially if you're not watching this, or if you are watching this. Okay, so there's this rush of adrenaline and other chemicals that prepare to make the body either like a quick getaway, like run, or to fight, right? To get the strength to fight. We also have this thing called freeze, but that's a topic for another day. Okay, and it can be like mild or it can be extreme. Now, a lot of people, remember I was saying like people use language where they're like, really, they're just nervous, but they're like, I have an anxiety disorder because I'm feeling nervous about something. Okay, it's really important that we don't mix those up. Okay, so fear is the emotion that we feel in the presence of a threat. Like there's an actual thing, like I'm scared. But anxiety is the anticipation of danger. Okay, it's like thinking about the danger, trouble, or threat. Okay, so worry and feelings of tension and stress are forms of anxiety, and everybody gets them from time to time, i.e. me in the last 5 minutes. Okay, so sometimes this includes stage fright. I didn't always love, to be fair, I would feel a lot different speaking to 1,000 people, mental health clinicians about this than I do talking to myself on a YouTube video, right? Even though this is going worldwide, right? I don't have stage fright right now. I've actually made tons of these videos before. So but it's interesting. But I would feel some anxiety, right? But that doesn't give me, if I was to present this in front of a bunch of my peers. And then sometimes shyness that can come with meeting new people. These are normal things, okay? So we know that anxiety disorders are mental health conditions that involve excessive amounts of fear, nervousness, worry, or dread. And we always measure mental health in terms of how much is this interfering with the enjoyment of your life. Okay, that is how we measure mental health. All right. And when anxiety is too constant or too intense, it can cause a person to feel very preoccupied, distracted, tense, and always on alert. And it takes up a lot of energy to constantly be preparing to run from a charging elephant. Okay. All right. So what can we do about it? Okay. This is really important. First of all, you need to talk about it. Anxiety disorders do not go away on their own unless they are treated. The brain is not working the way it should. So sometimes the first person you should always speak to is your caregiver. However, in my work as a counselor, I have worked with many, many kids, probably 50% of them have said, my parents don't think that mental health is a real thing. I'll tell you right now, if they're showing this to you right now, they do. Okay, so it is okay to talk to them. Now, if a caregiver doesn't seem to understand right away, you have rights. Okay, so you can, and your friends have rights. Okay, so this is something you could maybe pass on to them if they are not allowed to see this. All right, so that's it. They have rights. That's all I'm saying. Talk to people at school, child and youth care worker, a religious leader, other trusted adult, right? So but a trusted adult. When it comes to mental illness, you I'm sorry to say that you are not enough. Okay. Like there needs to be more. You're not trained. You don't have the kind of things, right? So this is probably the only time I would ever say to a person that they're not enough. Okay. It's just that you're just not equipped. Okay. And you don't have to take that on. It's unfair to you. Okay, one other thing is get a checkup. Sometimes there's something physically going on. Okay, so if someone has no energy, they might have low iron. Okay, so what you want to do is make sure you get some tests to rule out anything physical, right? If there was something else going on physically, you wouldn't want to treat mental health before you treat the physical health, because the physical health could be causing the mental health, right? Okay, and vice versa actually always works, but physical is actually typically easier to diagnose. There's just way more research around it. It's been around for a long time. Whereas, like I said before, mental health has really only made a ton of strides in the last 20 years or so. Okay, work with a mental health professional. Okay, so this is what I do. It's my job. Okay, talk therapy will help you discover where the symptoms are coming from, and then you can learn to deal with, there's so many different strategies, okay, on how to deal with persistent anxiety. But and medication is possible. That again is a decision with your family and the doctor. But medication does not actually change the way your brain works. It improves your ability to cope with it, with whatever's going on. So if you do choose to go the medication route, it is essential that you also speak with a therapist or counselor or religious leader, somebody who has the qualifications to help you. Okay. And back to this again. Regular exercise, good nutrition, and sleep. It is just so important, okay, that you take care of your body, because like I just said, like mental health and physical health are very interconnected. Okay, now feeling low. Feeling low is so common as a teenager, so common. Okay, it's natural to feel sad, down, or discouraged, right? You might be having your first major experiences with rejection, whether they're romantic or not making it onto the team that you wanted, or not getting into the school play, or whatever it is. Okay, it's a normal thing to happen. Okay, we feel low when we're reacting to when things just don't go well for us. Okay, it could be an argument with a friend, a breakup, your best friend moves away, you did poorly on a test, right? Or maybe someone close to you died, right? That's grief, right? It's a special kind of sadness. Now, most of the time, people will manage to deal with these feelings and get past them with some time and care, right? So some of these are mental health, but some of these are mental distress, and some of them are mental health problems. But none of these things are mental illness. But depression is. Okay, depression is more than occasionally feeling blue, sad, or discouraged. Okay, it's a very strong mood that lasts for, it wouldn't be diagnosed until you've had it 3 weeks or longer. Okay, but involving sadness, despair, and hopelessness that lasts for weeks, months, or even longer. And this would be, there are different types of depression. Okay, one of them being situational, like let's say your caregivers say, hey, guess what, we're up and moving across the country. Like you would feel, you might have situational depression, and then when the situation resolves itself, it lifts, right? But sometimes there's chemical imbalances that are happening. Again, remember, the brain just isn't working the way that it should. Now, it can get better with the right attention and care. And it does also not just go away on its own, okay? So things can stay bad or get worse. So if you've been feeling really low, hopefully you have been like talking about it a bit with friends, family, that kind of stuff, right? It will just not go away on its own. Okay, you can't just hope it away. Now, we're going to just briefly talk about suicide, because as a counselor, I have supported schools through 2 different suicides, and it is like nothing else I've ever experienced. Okay, it is not unusual for a teenager to think about suicide. Okay, but whenever teenagers they start to make a plan, get the means, that kind of stuff, then you need help. Okay, so often when a young person is feeling like they might want to end their life, they will tell a friend. That is great that they told you. You need to tell a trusted adult right away. I'm saying right away, okay? This is a secret that you never keep, whether it's about you or yourself, okay? Your young life is so, so valuable, and you're in the midst of this show, okay, of things, and it's going to get better, okay? So suicide is a permanent solution to temporary problems, all right? So anyways, I would like to move on from that, but it's really, really important. I cannot stress enough that you never keep this secret, okay? Now, what can you do if you think you might be depressed? The first step is to talk to a parent, guardian, other adult about getting the right help, okay? Again, if the person that you live with or whatever isn't supportive, go somewhere else, okay? There are things, depending on your age and where you live, there are different ways that you can access healthcare for yourself, okay? But start with a visit to your family doctor. Some people might need medication while others don't. Again, we want to rule out any physical things. Like people become really tired for a bunch of reasons, okay? Including like a physical illness, including they're missing things from their diet. There's a whole bunch of different things, right? Talk therapy with a counselor can help 100%. And then you can help yourself by, again, you're not going to like this, but there's all this research coming out about how the screens that we are watching, even like the blue light, there's a bunch of stuff that's happening now where it's really proving that we need to like decrease our stuff on screens, which is ironic because of course this is the medium of which I am talking to you, but it's just important to reduce it, okay? Maybe stop the scroll, okay? Eating healthy food, exercising, getting rid of a sleep, and noticing. Now, this one I love, okay? Because it's something that like not a lot of people think of, but if you start to noticing all the things about life that you love, even those little tiny things like I woke up today and it wasn't raining, or my cat jumped into bed with me this morning instead of my little sister, or whatever, it doesn't matter. There's all these beautiful little moments that happen every day. And the more that you notice those beautiful moments, it will help lift you, okay? It will help lift you. Okay, switching gears a little bit more. Okay, so as for transgender teens and those who identify within the LGBTQ2S plus umbrella, okay, puberty can be like even harder, okay? So the changes of puberty, they make almost everybody feel uncomfortable. But if you identify as a trans person, you may feel especially uncomfortable when your body starts to change in ways that don't match your gender identity, okay? Now, these feelings I want to validate for you and say totally normal. So if your body is changing in ways that does not match the way you feel inside, it is a very, and I even capitalized it there, okay? Important, I probably have to point this way from your things are reversed, right? Anyways, talk with a trusted adult, parent, caregiver, counselor, therapist, teacher, healthcare provider, okay? You need to talk. And this is because the rates of mental illness are much higher because of a lot of societal stuff that happens during this time, all right? So these adults, okay, and you keep asking until you find one, okay? May be able to help you affirm your gender identity and explore ways to support your development that are more in line with your affirmed gender, right? You also might be having like your sexual orientation, right? Like, oh my goodness, I'm bisexual, or I'm pansexual, or I'm asexual, or I'm demisexual, or soon I will have a whole presentation for younger kids, actually, for like kind of grades 4 to grade 7 on what all those things are, right? It's really, really important that you don't keep it all inside. Okay. I'm not saying you have to come out. Okay. That is your journey and whatever you're going to do. Okay. But stats show that people are a lot happier once they come out. But you also have to identify like what's safe for you and not that kind of stuff. Right. All right. I just found this video and I'm pretty excited about it.
Many people claim that being transgender is a mental illness to demean and insult trans people. But is being transgender a mental illness? First, we need to understand the difference between being transgender and gender dysphoria. Transgender is defined by the American Psychiatric Association, or the APA, as the broad spectrum of individuals who transiently or persistently identify with a gender different from their natal gender. Basically, what that means is someone like me who was told I was a boy at birth but actually identifies as a girl is considered transgender. This definition also includes non-binary people because they may have been told that they were a boy or girl at birth, but don't necessarily identify with that gender. On the other hand, gender dysphoria is defined by the APA as the distress that may accompany the incongruence between one's experienced or expressed gender and one's assigned gender. The keyword here is distress. While being transgender is recognizing the difference between your assigned gender and your self-identified gender, gender dysphoria is the distress that's caused by that incongruence. It's important to recognize that not all transgender people experience gender dysphoria the same amount. It's the difference between going, I'm really a girl, and I'm really a girl. So while being transgender and gender dysphoria are related, they are not the same. Also, this is not the same distress caused by being transgender in today's society, created by having to face insults, violence, or discrimination. That's a whole different kind of distress. The APA defines mental illness as associated with distress and or problems functioning in social, work, or family activities. So no, being transgender is not a mental illness because being trans doesn't inherently cause someone distress. We did it. We figured it out. The misconception that being trans is a mental illness is dangerous and causes trans people to face discrimination in areas like employment, parental guardianship, entrance into the military, medical examinations, and many more. The gender dysphoria and mental illness connection is a little less clear. The APA explicitly states that gender dysphoria is not a mental disorder. But since gender dysphoria is the experience of distress, it seems to fit the definition of mental illness. But whether or not gender dysphoria is a mental illness, it can be treated. The distress caused by an incongruence between one's gender identity and natal gender can be lessened by the use of therapy, surgeries, and or hormones. These treatments don't make you more or less transgender, but they can lessen gender dysphoria when properly diagnosed by a psychologist and treated by an affirming doctor. So to put it in simplest possible terms, there may be a lot of things wrong with me, but being transgender isn't one of them. Please share this video to help break a dangerous misconception about trans people.
Yay. Okay. I love it. Okay, we're going to wrap this up very shortly with stigma and mental illness. Okay, so stigma is a reason people don't get help with stuff. Okay, but in terms of mental illness, it's why they don't speak out, right? So there's stigma around all sorts of things in the world. Okay, any type, often stereotypes are based on stigma. Okay. Stigma refers to a cluster of negative attitudes and beliefs that motivate the general public to fear, reject, avoid, and discriminate against people with mental illnesses. And it's just not the matter of using the wrong word or action. Stigma puts up barriers that discourages people from getting the help that they need. So everybody can help with this by talking openly about mental health, being conscious of the language that we use, not interfering, like not mixing up mental distress with mental illness. Okay, showing compassion for people with mental illness. Mental illness can, people with mental illness can be wonderful friends. They can be wonderful partners. They can be like, it's not, it doesn't have to be this barrier. And of course, speaking out about it.
You know that feeling where your thoughts scare you or make life tough? Sometimes it feels like no one else in the world has those thoughts or feelings. No one seems to know how difficult it is to deal with your feelings. And it's not easy to share your deepest secrets. You might think something is wrong with you. Or you might worry what other people think. And all of that makes your thoughts and feelings worse. Our culture has created this environment of shame. Until the 1960s, society sent people away if they had challenges managing their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Over time, we learned that we didn't have to be afraid. We learned how to help people get better. We became hopeful. But there are remnants of those images in our culture today, which is why some people still feel uncomfortable talking about it. The stigma has taken new forms too. With more access to more people all the time, it can seem like the world is telling us it's not okay to be anything but perfect. The truth is, everyone has thoughts or feelings that can be hard to deal with. So, why do we make it so difficult on ourselves by judging others who could be going through the same challenges we are? What if, instead of seeing labels, we saw people who are struggling and could be there for them so they didn't feel so alone? What if we looked past our fear of mental health and started to talk about it in a constructive way? What if, as a society, we used empowering words and healthy images to help people feel supported? Maybe then more of us could feel comfortable telling others when we're having a hard time. Maybe more people would get the help they need. And maybe one day we won't have to talk separately about mental health and physical health, but just health. The truth is, each of us has the power to change our culture. Will you join us? Share this video with a kid, your neighbor, a friend, and help us break the stigma of mental health.
Here we go. I did. I shared it. All right. This is our last slide with information on it. Okay. Okay. So building your team. Okay. So the first steps might be the toughest, but the people on your support team will depend on your situation and your goals. Okay. So our first step is to talk with supportive friends and family. Okay. Share with them and let them be part of your team. Okay. Your caregivers want to be part of your team. You likely want to push them away a lot, and that is developmentally appropriate. But in this case, let them be part. Next thing would talk to your family doctor. They're a great resource. And then they can also link you to other professionals that are a bit more specialized if needed. Okay, you could talk to a member or a team leader you trust from your faith or cultural group. Talk to your school counselor, youth child care worker, teacher, coach, principal. Oh, okay. And also learn more about mental health. There's a lot of really great resources. Just make sure that they are reliable. Okay. So they come from hospitals and universities and I think .org. Okay. You can also find useful books, websites, and other resources through government and community agencies. This is the end. Fin means the end in French, and I am indeed Canadian. I really hope that this has been helpful for you and that you have learned something more about, first of all, the difference between teen angst and mental health, mental distress, mental problems, and mental illness. And I hope that you can also learn how to help other people as well. Okay, bye for now.